Okay, girls, so let's do our lesson on 4.4, terminating and recurring decimals. So this chapter talks about how the relationship between fractions and decimals. But here they're talking about terminating and recurring decimals because let's remember what is a terminating decimal. So if an example of a terminating decimal can be, for example, 25 hundredths, and it finished there, agree? Or 3/10, something like that, agree? But we also have recurring decimals that are the ones that are that they repeat itself. So it can be something like, let's say that I have 1/10, but then the 3 is going to repeat itself. So this means when we see this line, or sometimes they put a dot, this means that we have something like 0 units, 1/10, and then 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and this goes forever. That's what we call recurring decimals because it's repeating itself. Or it can be something like, for example, 7, 8, and then I say that I prefer the dash because the dash tells me which digits are repeating. Like in this one, I can see that only the 3, even though that 3 is not very clear. Let's do that 3 again. Better. So only the 3 is the one that is repeating. In the second case, I have the 7 and the 8 that are repeating. So I have 0 units, and then 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 8, and so on. Okay? Wonderful. So we have terminating decimals and recurring decimals. Now, this chapter really talks about the relationship with fractions and decimals. So this is what I want you to understand. Fractions and decimals represent a number. And you will hear me saying this in different videos. It's like Miss Ochoa. It's the same Miss Ochoa, but sometimes she's dressed as a fraction. And when she's dressed as a fraction, she has a green dress. But when she's dressed as a decimal, it's the same Miss Ochoa with the same crazy hair, same personality, same person. But now she has a red dress. And this is when I'm dressing as a decimal. So it's the same person, only that we're changing dresses, okay? So that's what we're going to learn to do now. So let's talk about first. We're going to talk about how, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to take a photo of this because I'm going to use it later. How do I move from fraction to decimal? Okay, so when I'm going to move from fraction to decimal, what do I have to do? So let's say that I have a fraction, like for example, 1/4. Okay, and we know that if I have 1/4, what I'm saying here is that I have 1 divided by 4. Agree? Remember that always these fractions represent also division. So I can go and do 1 divided by 4. Okay, so how many times? We know that is going to be less than 1. Agree? Because if it was 1, I will have 4 quarters, and I have only 1/4, which means that it's going to be less than 1. So how many quarters do I have here? So how many times 4 goes into 1? 0. Agree? And because I have already put my decimal place, then I can put a 0 here. Okay, and now the question is how many times 4 goes into 10? So it goes 2 times, and 2 times 4 is 8. Take away 10, take away 8 has a remainder of 2. And because I'm already have put the decimal place, I can put another 0. And how many times 4 goes into 20? 5 times. So that means that 1/4 is equal to 25 hundredths. This being in my green dress, same person. This one in my red dress, same person. So there are different representations of the same quantity, okay? Wonderful. So this is how we do this. So let's do, I think I have here my Jack Plus. We're going to do the examples that they have here. Okay. Here, let's do these work examples. 48. I just lost the photo that I took before. That's okay. Okay, so it says convert the following fractions to decimals if the decimal is recurrent decimal or terminating. Okay, so 1/5. 1/5. I'm going to do it. I like to have space. So view. I like grid. So also do 1/5. So we can do this method that we did here. Another way that we can do it, but the thing is that it doesn't work all the time because it depends on what denominators that you have, is that you're trying to attempt to get to a denominator that will be a power of 10. Why? I'll show you here. So if, for example, I know that I have 1/5 here. If I times this one by 2 and I times this one by 2, so I'm getting an equivalent fraction here. I'm getting that this one is going to be equal to 2/10. And what I just read was 2/10. That means that is the same as 2/10, right? Written as a decimal. And so this one is the green dress and this one is the red dress. Okay. Now, is it terminating or recurrent? Is terminating. Okay. Now let's look at this one. 4 and 5/12. Okay, so immediately, what do I know already? I know that I have 4 units. So I'm going to write, I already have 4 units. That means that I have 4 wholes. So I'm going to put 4 and my decimal point. And I'm only going to worry at the 5/12. Okay, so let's do this one here. What is 5 divided by 12? So we know that it's going to be 0. And we put a 0 here. So that gives me 4, which is 48, and then 2, and then another 0, and then goes once, and I have a remainder of 8, and another 0. How beautiful. I need all my 12 times table. So 12 por 7. I'm just thinking out loud that's going to be more than that because it's going to go, okay, 14. I cannot think today. And 84, so it's going to be 6. 6, which is, take away 12, is 2, and 62. No, 60. What have I done? Yes, 12 times 6 is 62. I cannot trust my girls. It's 72. Yes, it's 72. I don't know what I did here. It's 72. So 6, and then I get 72, and I get a remainder of 6, and then I have a 0, and then that means that is going to be, I need all my 12 times tables. I should have done, you know what I do with them when I have these ones? This is the best thing that I do. I do times 12 times 2, 24 times 2, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96, and then 120. Yes, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 6, times 7, times 8, times 9. So I'm missing here 1. Times 9 is going to be 12, 8, 108, and then times 10 is going to be 120. Good. So now for 60, I have a 5 here. Good. So that means that my answer is going to be the 4 that I had before, and then the decimal part is going to be 41665, and that's the red part. Sorry. Oops. What am I doing? This is the green dress, and this is the red dress. Okay, good. This one, -5/8. So I know that this is going to go into a negative decimal as well. Okay, and let's do 5 divided by 8. So 0, and 6 por 8, 48, which is 6, remainder 2, 20, then 2, that is 16, and 4, and 0, and 5. Good. So it's going to be negative 0 and 625 thousandths. 625 thousandths. Perfect. My green dress and my red dress. Okay, wonderful. Let's do the last one of these ones, 2/3. So I have 2/3. Again, terminating decimal, terminating decimal, terminating decimal. Now, if I do 2/3, it's going to be 2 divided by 3, which is going to be equal to 0, and then 0 and 6 and 2 and 0 and 6 and 2 and 0. And I can see that I have gotten into a pattern 6 and 2, and I'm never going to get out of this pattern. So I know that the answer for this one is going to be 0.6 recurring. Okay, this is the red dress and this is the green dress. Wonderful. So that's when we are going from fraction to decimal. Okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to continue part 2 of this video. Please continue watching the next part of this video.